My name is Ethan Caldwell. I'm 42 years old, and for the last 15 years, I've been running a small craft brewery in Austin, Texas. I've always prided myself on my intuition, reading the subtle flavors in a brew or sensing when a business deal feels off. That gut feeling built my company from a garage operation into a regional favorite, but I never thought it'd be what saved me from complete ruin. For over a year, my father, Robert, battled severe heart disease. The doctors said bypass surgery might give him a few more years, but complications kept piling up. I juggled hospital runs, managing his meds, and keeping the brewery afloat. My girlfriend, Sarah, was 38 then. We'd been together for 7 years, living like a married couple without the paperwork. Or so I believed. Hindsight shows the cracks started forming months earlier, but I was too buried in Dad's care to see them. Sarah began pulling away around the time Dad's condition worsened. I'd come home exhausted from a day at the brewery, followed by hours at St. David's Medical Center, and she'd be glued to her laptop, claiming freelance graphic design deadlines. At first, I blamed it on the strain. We were both stressed. But her absences grew suspicious. She'd vanish for client meetings that stretched into evenings, returning with excuses about traffic on I-35 or last-minute revisions. Her phone buzzed constantly, and she'd flip it face down the second I entered the room. I trusted her, though. We'd built a life together. Our cozy bungalow in South Congress, weekend hikes in the hill country, even co-signing the lease on the brewery's expansion space. That trust was my blind spot. The truth hit me like a bad batch of IPA, bitter and unavoidable. It was 4 months before Dad's final surgery. Sarah had left her tablet charging in the living room while she ran errands. I needed to pull up some supplier invoices on it since my computer was updating. The screen lit up to her email inbox, and there it was, a chain from Marcus Hale. Marcus was an old acquaintance from our UT Austin days, a slick marketing guy who'd always flirted with the edges of ethics. He'd relocated to Dallas for a corporate gig, and I'd assumed we'd drifted apart. Apparently not. The emails dated back 5 months, flirty at first, then explicit. Plans for secret weekends in Houston, discussions about our future, and worst of all, details on how they'd leverage my brewery's success. Sarah had been feeding him insider info, recipes for our signature stouts, expansion plans I'd shared in confidence, even financials from our joint account. They plotted to start a rival brewery in Dallas, using my ideas as the foundation. Marcus joked about how Dad's illness was perfect timing to distract me while they set up. She'd even mentioned the life insurance policy I'd taken out on Dad, estimating the payout could seed their venture. I felt a chill settle in my chest, not rage, just a calculated calm. I screenshot everything, emailed copies to myself, then logged out like nothing happened. When Sarah returned with groceries, I greeted her with a kiss and asked about her day. She smiled that rehearsed smile and said it was fine. We grilled burgers on the patio that night, chatting about mundane things while I studied her every word. That evening, after she dozed off, I called my buddy Tyler Jenkins, a lawyer specializing in business law down in San Antonio. We'd met through a local entrepreneurs group. I laid it all out, the affair, the theft of intellectual property, the financial scheming. Tyler didn't flinch. He just said, "We need to lock this down fast." Within days, we filed for trademarks on all my recipes, something I'd stupidly delayed. We also set up an LLC restructure, separating my personal assets from anything tied to Sarah. She had access to our shared business account, but I'd kept the brewery's core holdings in my name alone from the start, a habit from my cautious days bootstrapping the operation. The crucial part was talking to Dad. He was in and out of lucidity at the hospital, but one clear afternoon, I sat by his bed and showed him the emails. I expected shock, maybe disappointment in me for not seeing it sooner. Instead, he gripped my hand and said, "Son, people show their true colors under pressure. Protect what we've built." Dad had been a mechanic his whole life, fixing engines in East Austin shops, and he knew about safeguarding what's yours. Together with Tyler, we revised his will. We funneled his savings into a trust for me, excluding any marital claims. Texas community property laws are tricky, but pre-relationship assets stay separate. Dad signed off, his signature steady despite the IV lines. "Don't let her walk away with a drop," he whispered. I nodded, promising I'd handle it. For the next 3 months, I played the part. I'd text Sarah from the hospital, updating her on Dad's progress, and she'd respond with half-hearted sympathy. I'd catch her sneaking glances at her phone during dinners at our favorite spots like Franklin Barbecue. But I said nothing. I observed, documented, more emails, traced bank transfers where she'd siphoned small amounts to a hidden account. Tyler hired a PI who confirmed her trips to Dallas, photos of her and Marcus at hotels off the interstate. It all built my case. Dad passed on a humid September evening in 2024. I was there alone. Sarah claimed a migraine kept her home. She arrived later, hugging me mechanically before checking messages in the hallway. The memorial was set for the following weekend at a community center in Zilker Park. Dad loved the outdoors. Those days blurred with calls to relatives, ordering catering from local spots, and handling the brewery's fall batch releases. Sarah helped by sending invites and picking up floral arrangements, but I noted her extended errands, likely coordinating with Marcus. Tyler finalized everything: non-disclosure agreements for brewery staff, frozen joint accounts, and a lawsuit draft for IP theft. Friday night, as I prepped my remembrance speech in the home office, surrounded by hop samples and ledgers, Sarah knocked and entered. She was in yoga pants, hair tied back, but her nails were freshly done. Odd for a low-key evening. "We should talk," she said, sitting on the edge of the desk. I set down my notes. "About?" She fidgeted. "Us. Things haven't felt right for a while with your dad and all. Maybe we need space." I leaned back. "Space? Or something more permanent?" She met my eyes. "Permanent, I think. It's been building." "Interesting," I replied evenly. "Right before the memorial." She sighed. "I'm not trying to hurt you, Ethan. Just being real." Real. The irony burned. I could have confronted her then, but timing is everything in brewing. And in this. "Let's get through tomorrow first," I said. She agreed, relief flashing across her face, then left to wind down. I heard her whispering on a call soon after, probably updating Marcus. Saturday dawned hot and clear, typical Austin weather. I wore a simple button-down and jeans. Dad hated suits. Sarah opted for a sundress, looking every bit the supportive partner. We drove separately. She said she might need to duck out for work calls. The center filled with folks, brewery employees, Dad's old shop buddies, neighbors from our block. Marcus showed up, lurking near the snack table trying to look casual in khakis. I spotted him instantly. Guilt makes people fidgety. The service started at noon. A friend from Dad's garage days emceed, sharing stories of his wrench-turning prowess. Then it was my turn. I stepped to the mic, notes in hand, scanning the crowd. Sarah sat front and center, phone in lap. "My father, Robert Caldwell, was a fixer," I began. "He could diagnose an engine problem by sound alone. But more than that, he fixed people, teaching patience, honesty, the value of hard work. He saw through BS, noticed when parts didn't fit." I paused, letting it sink in. Sarah shifted. "In his last months, Dad stayed sharp. He noticed shifts, people who claimed loyalty but acted otherwise, who shared secrets for personal gain." The room quieted. Whispers started. "He taught me that betrayal isn't one blow. It's a series of leaks, like a faulty gasket draining oil drop by drop." I pulled out printed emails from my pocket, holding them up. Weeks before he died, Dad learned someone close was stealing. Recipes, plans, even plotting to use his insurance for a new venture with another. Gasps rippled. Sarah's face drained of color. I held the emails aloft, letting the weight of the moment settle over the room. Dad believed in protecting what you build, I continued, my voice steady, deliberate. He taught me to spot leaks before they ruin the engine. So when he saw someone betraying our family, planning to profit off his death, he made sure everything, his savings, his legacy, was locked down tight. He didn't want his life's work funding someone else's fresh start. Sarah stood, her sundress catching on the chair, her face a mask of panic. She muttered something about needing the bathroom and stumbled toward the exit. Heads turned, but I kept going. Dad was a mechanic, not a lawyer, but he understood evidence. He insisted on records, emails, bank statements, plans laid out in black and white. He made sure the truth was documented so no one could twist it later. The crowd was silent now, every eye on me or darting to Sarah, who froze near the door. Marcus was already gone, slipping out like the coward he was. "The thing about betrayal," I said, locking eyes with Sarah, "is it thinks it's clever. It thinks it's invisible. But if you pay attention, like Dad always did, you see the patterns. Late nights, secret calls, money moved to hidden accounts. You see someone pretending to care while plotting to steal what's yours." I folded the emails and tucked them back into my pocket. Dad's final lesson was about consequences. Not loud ones, not vengeful ones, just the natural result of choices made in the dark, brought into the light. He made sure his legacy went to people who valued trust, who showed up when it mattered, not just when it was convenient. I stepped back from the mic. The MC, visibly rattled, mumbled about moving to a moment of silence. People whispered, glancing between me and the empty doorway where Sarah had vanished. She didn't return for the rest of the service. We wrapped up with a slideshow of Dad's life, him under the hood of a '67 Mustang, fishing at Lake Travis, laughing at Brewery opening night. Afterward, folks approached me with condolences, some hesitant, sensing the undercurrent of what I'd said. A few of Dad's old buddies gripped my shoulder, muttering, "He'd be proud, Ethan." I nodded, thanking them, but my mind was already on what came next. Sarah's car was gone when I reached the parking lot. I drove home to our bungalow, half expecting her to be there, packing or pleading. Instead, it was empty. Her clothes cleared from the closet, her laptop gone, her keys on the counter beside a scrawled note. "You a monster for doing this in front of everyone. My lawyer will handle the rest." I smirked, snapping a photo of the note for Tyler. She thought she had a claim. On the brewery, the house, Dad's insurance. She was wrong. Tyler had ensured everything was airtight. The brewery's core assets were in my name, trademarked and protected. The house, bought with my savings before we met, was untouchable under Texas law. The insurance payout, funneled into a trust before Dad's death, inaccessible to her. Even the joint account she'd been skimming was frozen, her transfers flagged as evidence in the IP theft case Tyler was building. I called him that evening. "She's gone," I said, left a note threatening legal action. Tyler chuckled. "Let her try. She's got no standing. The business is yours, the trust is locked, and we've got a paper trail of her stealing trade secrets. If she pushes, we countersue." I thanked him and hung up, pouring a pint of our flagship porter. Sitting on the porch, watching the Austin skyline glow against the dusk, I felt a strange peace. The brewery hummed along, our fall stout winning a regional award that month. Sarah's betrayal had cost her everything she'd schemed for. No money, no rival brewery, no Marcus, who ghosted her when the funds didn't materialize. Word got around fast. Friends from the Austin craft scene reached out, some at the memorial piecing it together. They didn't pry, just offered support, free hops shipments, invites to tastings. Dad's old crew dropped by the brewery, sharing stories over beers, saying they'd always found Sarah too polished. It stung, knowing I'd missed what they saw, but it also grounded me. I kept brewing, kept the taproom packed. I started a community fund in Dad's name, donating a portion of our pale ale sales to local mechanics apprenticeships. It wasn't about the money, It was about keeping his spirit alive. Sarah resurfaced months later, working a desk job at a marketing firm in Dallas. Mutual friends said she and Marcus imploded fast. His sales gig couldn't support her vision of a flashy new life. Reality hit hard. No inheritance, no stolen recipes, just a one-bedroom apartment and mounting bills. We never spoke again. The lawsuit never came. Her lawyer likely saw the evidence and advised her to drop it. In 2026, I sold the bungalow and moved to a loft near East 6th, closer to the brewery and the vibrant pulse of the city. I dated sparingly, wary but not bitter. Dad's lessons stuck. Trust is earned through actions, not promises. I learned to spot the signs, guarded phones, vague excuses, and to value those who show up when the tanks clog or the heart monitor beeps. The brewery's thriving now, with a second location planned in San Marcos. Every batch we brew feels like a nod to Dad, his precision, his grit. Looking back from 2028, I don't regret how I handled it. Some might call my memorial speech ruthless, airing Sarah's betrayal in public. But I didn't ruin her. She did that herself, email by email, lie by lie. I just let the truth breathe, let her face the room knowing everyone saw her for who she was. Dad taught me that justice isn't about shouting, it's about clarity, timing, and letting consequences do the talking. Sarah gambled on my distraction and lost. I visit Dad's grave at Austin Memorial Park, bringing a bottle of our latest brew to pour out, a ritual he'd have grinned at. I tell him about the brewery, the fund, the life I'm rebuilding, and I thank him for teaching me that silence isn't surrender. Sometimes it's the sharpest tool you've got.